Tennessee Death Row Dogs, your local dog rescue nonprofit. Arr, arr.
Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. My name is Brad Hopkins.
And I'm Derrick Mason.
Our show is called Player to Player. We are at Classic Sports Barbershop right in the heart of downtown Franklin, Tennessee.
An actual barbershop. And what barbershop don't you know that have two loud, opinionated barbers? That's where Tony Steele and Brian Creason come in.
We're also brought to you by Fidelity Motors, 1207 Fessler's Lane. You know where to go to get your hair game right. If you're looking for a cool car, whether it's a classic, whether it's a new car, a used car, go see Michael Spurgeon at 1207 Fessler's Lane. Fidelity Motors can definitely get you looking right. And like us on Facebook, Talkopolis.com. You can like us here at Classic Sports Barbershop. And of course, Fidelity Motors, we'd love to have you on our social media as well.
Absolutely. And you can follow me on Twitter, and that's DMason85.
And I'm at B_Hop72 on Twitter, so you can follow us there too. I'll tell you what, we got a lot of action to talk about, especially previewing this weekend's conference championships, both on the AFC and the NFC. Some classic matchups, ones that we've seen before.
Yeah, and they are going to be, like you said, these are going to be unforgettable games. These are going to be games that I think you're going to be talking about 2, 3, 4 years down the line because of the matchup, the young, two young studs versus each other, and then the two older, long in the tooth guys versus each other. One is in the AFC and one matchup is in the NFC. But before we get to that, there's an interesting stat about Peyton Manning. He's played in a lot of playoff games, and he has surpassed John Elway for second place on the playoff all-time playoff list for passing yards. He has over 5,800 yards, so that's telling you that's a good thing because he's been in the playoffs a lot of times.
How many times have we talk about Peyton Manning, especially overcoming adversity? A guy that's seen a lot of success. We teased him about his playoff runs and how he's probably under 500 there. But a guy that missed an entire season due to a neck injury and comes back, to obviously throw for a single season passing record and things of that nature. What you're just talking about, that's an exceptional talent.
It is, and there's not too many quarterbacks that can do that. Yeah. But when you're talking about Peyton Manning, I think you're talking about arguably, the best quarterback in all of football to ever, like I've always said, to ever put his hands underneath the center. So, like I said, this weekend's matchup will be some very, very good ones. And let's start with the New England Patriots at the Denver Broncos. Now, this is going to be a matchup, like we said. Two old guys, two guys that are familiar with one another. They've played each other 5 times in the playoffs, in which I believe 3 of them have pretty much said who was going to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So do you think how do you see this matchup being? And do you think which team do you think has the emotional advantage?
That's a good question though, Derrick, because obviously New England very rarely finds themselves in positions where they have to travel. And get on the road to get a win to propel themselves into the Super Bowl. And normally it's about Tom Brady, isn't it?
It is.
But you know what? Over the past few weeks, there's been another name that has emerged to really give the offense of the Patriots some success, and that's LeGarrette Blount, kind of a journeyman of sorts. Started out in Tennessee before getting released. Due to numbers, in my opinion, finds himself down there in Tampa Bay, makes a name for himself as a 1,000-yard back, and now we see this guy rushing for 4 touchdowns in the divisional round and things like that. I think the emphasis might be more so on what he can do in protecting the football and getting the Patriots up and down the field, more so than Tom Brady using his arm.
And that's what I want to ask you. Do the New England Patriots stick with the running game, the thing that they've pretty much modeled themselves on the last 4 weeks of the season? Do they stick with the running game, or do they try to get into this high-powered scoring matchup with the Denver Broncos?
Well, I think that obviously when you're talking about these two teams, the one that makes the least amount of mistakes has the inside track. Okay, now sticking with the run game, there's less degree of difficulty. But you've also got to look at increment weather being part of the problem, maybe up at Mile High Stadium. If the wind is bad, if it's rainy, those kind of conditions, you're going to want your workhorse, like LeGarrette Blount, Stephen Ridley. You're going to want guys like that, to basically carry the workload and not necessarily put the ball in the air for guys like Champ Bailey to take advantage and stuff like that. But Champ's been hurt. You saw him come back first game he's played in a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly how long he's been out. But I know that he's a welcome addition. His veteran leadership helps them, in the long run. But for the most part, looking at Tom Brady, I think that he's one of those guys that leads by emotion. We've seen him react in certain situations where he can pump the fist and get a little more into it than you would say a Peyton Manning would. But Peyton Manning doesn't have to be that emotional leader, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Because I think that I heard some guy likening him to be like Professor X, some guy that's cerebral, a guy that pretty much knows what the defense is thinking. So do you have to have those kind of superpowers like emotion to propel yourself in a game like that? I don't think so.
Yeah, at times you don't, but I think what it is the team. Do the team, whichever team you're talking about, whether it be the New England Patriots or the Denver Broncos, do one of those teams feed off emotion? Do the Denver Broncos feed off emotion? Or do they feed off of Peyton Manning? Do the New England Patriots feed off emotion, or do they feed off of Tom Brady? I think there is kind of both with New England. I think they feed off of Tom Brady, but because Tom Brady hasn't been able to put up the astronomical numbers that he's put up in previous seasons, they've relied so much on the running game and that emotion that is built through the running game. So I think, like you said, if Blunt can't, be as physical in that presence that he was last week, then I think, it kind of do a disservice to the New England Patriots, because one, they don't have the physical presence, and then they don't have that emotion that the running game builds up. As a former offensive lineman, that once you get that thing going, man, that emotion builds up and you feel like you can't be stopped as a running team.
Yeah, and you as a former receiver, Derrick, you know exactly how Wes Welker feels. Ironically, this guy has played for both teams and had both quarterbacks throwing to him. So let me ask you this. How is he going to feel going into this game, knowing that he left New England, a pretty successful program, being thrown to by Tom Brady, to have a phenomenal year with Peyton Manning? This has got to be one of those heartstring things for him as he gets ready for this ball game.
Yeah, I think it is. But the good thing about it is that he's played in New England already. He's played the Patriots already. So those feelings of, those jitters, they're kind of out now. He doesn't have to worry about that. And also the good thing is they're playing at home. They're playing in Mile High. He doesn't have to go to Gillette Stadium and play. And I think he probably would have been a little nervous, but he's playing at home. He has his comfort level. Now the thing about him is to watch him. He wore this funny helmet this past weekend. It made it seem as if his head was huge and his face was small. But you
see that helmet?
That was due to concussion.
My wife said in high school, she thought he was a kicker. I said, man, you ain't no kicker. What is he saying?
But that was due to concussion, and that's going to be the big thing moving forward. Is he able to? Because I saw in a couple of situations last week where he ducked and got down quickly. Now, is he going to be able to do that again this week against the New England Patriots?
Yeah. What'll be even funnier is if we see Percy Harvin, another guy that's had to deal with concussions, wear a similar helmet that Wes Welker is. Let's go ahead and switch sides to the NFC Championship matchup. Obviously, we were talking about two great quarterbacks, Colin Kaepernick and a guy that struggled as of lately is Russell Wilson. But in my opinion, both of these quarterbacks have the ability to get it done.
Yeah, they do. Both of them, they both have the same traits and the same attributes. Quarterbacks that not only can beat you with their arm, but they also can beat you with their legs.
Right.
Both of them have really good running backs. You got Lynch on one side and you got Gore on the other side, and both of them, in a sense, have physical receivers. Tate for Seattle, and then Anquan Bolden for the San Francisco 49ers. So these two teams kind of mirror one another. I think what's going to separate them apart is who gets the most turnovers. Obviously, we know the Seattle Seahawks led the whole NFL in turnovers, and this past weekend, the San Francisco 49ers got a bunch of turnovers. So, who doesn't turn the ball over will win this football game.
Absolutely. Now, we're wrapping this thing up. We're nearing these scores from each one of these games. New England Patriots travel to Denver. Who do you like in that game?
I like the Denver Broncos simply for the fact is, Peyton Manning is playing great football right now. They got to go down to Mile High. And Peyton Manning has to prove to everybody, not just himself, he has to prove to everybody that he can beat Tom Brady on a consistent basis. So I picked the Denver Broncos to win this 28-24.
I think it's going to be a close contest, especially when you see the workhorse LeGarrette Blount, being as productive possibly this weekend as he was last weekend. The one way that you can beat a team like the Denver Broncos is by scoring one more point than them. And I've noticed the record that anytime the score is 7 points or less, there's a pretty good chance that the Denver Broncos can go down, especially if you can play that controlled possession type football that the New England Patriots are used to playing. So let's switch to the NFC side. Russell Wilson's hosting Colin Kaepernick, a guy that pretty much took care of business last week against Cam Newton. Can he get it done up at CenturyLink Field?
It's going to be very hard. I mean, the critical point in this game, the critical fact in this game is this, that it's very hard to win in Seattle. And San Francisco 49ers have had problems with the Seahawks this season. So to me, if San Francisco is going to go down here, one, they have to be very poised in playing in this stadium, realizing and understanding that the 12th man is for real. It's not just hearsay. The 12th man is for real. And then two, they got to ride the backs of Frank Gore. They can't, try to make this a passing game or try to get Kaepernick being a focal point of this football game. Frank Gore has to be the end-all, be-all for the San Francisco 49ers. And if they do that, they will win this game. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Seattle Seahawks will do what they've been able to do the whole season, and that's to play great defense. The defensive backs will be allowed to hold you as much as they want to. That physical presence will be allowed in this game, and the Seattle Seahawks will win 17-10.
Well, my follow the challenge co-host, I have to disagree with you.
Oh,
yeah.
How many times have you done that?
Yeah, I try to make it a regular thing. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the San Francisco 49ers, one of the hottest teams in the NFC. And if you look at what San Fran gets back, they get Michael Crabtree back. They get Vernon Davis back. And Russell Wilson's not playing that well. I think he threw for like 108 yards this past game. Sure, Marshawn Lynch ran 28 times for 140 yards, but it's going to take a lot more than that to get it done against the San Francisco 49ers. So I like the 49ers to get it done.
Well, we'll see who comes out on top, whether it be the 49ers or the Seahawks or the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots.
Either way, it's going to be a great matchup in the Super Bowl, right?
Absolutely.
All right, it's going to do it for us down here at Classic Sports Barbershop, downtown Franklin. I'm Brad Hopkins. That's Derrick Mason. I'm sorry. We are Player to Player. Now, remember, you can also catch us on Twitter at
D Mason, that's DEEMASON 85.
And me at B_Hop72. You can like us on Facebook and go to talkopolis.com. That's TALKAPOLIS.com. Check us out on there. And also like Classic Sports and Fidelity Motors. Hey, for Derrick Mason, I'm Brad Hopkins. We'll see you next time.
Hey, man, one of these days I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give me a fresh cut, man.
It won't take long.